text to give it a little bit more oomph. So I'm going to create a new file. And I'm going to go back to a letter size. Landscape. Sometimes you might have a font that is telling you when you try to export it to a PDF that it won't allow you to do so. And you need this font for a headline or some specific thing in your educational or portfolio project. You're not using it to sell. When that happens, when you try to export out your document, you can do a thing called create outlines. So I'm going to go ahead and just type a word here. Triple click to select my text and pick some font for this. Let's try that again. I'm going to use Lobster. You know what? I'm not going to use Lobster. All right, so here is this one, kind of a graffiti style. Okay. I'm going to press the scale tool and click and hold the shift key down and drag this text, which is really very difficult to read because the letters are too close together. But for what I want to do, this is a perfect example because the first thing I need to do is break this apart into separate letters. If I go over to type and I choose create outlines now, first let me select it properly. If I go over to type and do create outlines now, it's important to recognize that the letters that are touching are still touching. If I use the direct selection tool and click just on the V, I can now move this over a little bit. Okay, so I can hand kern these. So I'm using the direct selection tool, otherwise known as the sub selection tool. What is the right name for that tool? Direct selection. Okay, so I'm going to select that letter and move it over. I'm going to select the V and then shift select to have both the V and the N selected, and under Window I'm going to go to the Align panel, and from here I'm going to show options and find the distribute spacing setting. I actually want to select all the letters and distribute the horizontal spacing, but it is not moving. It is not helping me at all. Okay, so I'm just going to move these out a little further. So I'm holding the shift and arrow key, shift and right arrow, click on this shift and right arrow, and try to spread these out a little bit. Didn't get that one unselected, and let's see if I can try that again. So I'm going to select all these letters. They're still in one group. I'm going to go Object, Ungroup. Are they separate letters now? Yes, they are. I'm going to select them all and try this again, distribute spacing. Ah, much better. Okay. So the distance that became available was the average of the leftover distance between the V and the N. So if I move the N closer, okay, that close, even if it's almost touching the O, and I select all the letters now, I ungrouped twice, and I use this on the Align panel, distribute spacing, which you're going to find here under Options, Hide and Show Options, distribute spacing, and now I have a better, more even, likable space between my letters. But if this is going to be small and part of something else, so I'm going to copy and resize a couple of these elements here. Since I've already done create outlines, this is not text that I can edit anymore. It's no longer editable text. But I'm just going to play around with it. I'm going to rotate it. All right, so for this little one here, I need to make it jump out, let's say, pop out better on top of a field of a lot of other color. And I will want to outline it. So just to simulate, but not very well, my gradient background here where I have a lot of color, I'll double click on the gradient tool And here, to fill with a gradient, I must click the gradient button, and then I'll start changing some colors here in my gradient and adding some swatches. Zoom tight. Okay. Here, I'll put another one in. Make it red. All right. And the idea of this is to show you how to make outlines on text properly. So I'm going to cut this colorful background away, select everything, and go Edit, Paste in Back so that the colorful background is behind you. And you can see on the darker, well, on the projector it looks a lot better, but on screen, this darker purple doesn't make it very easy to read that text, makes it difficult. So I'm going to select the letters in the word vision again, and I'm going to copy them. Edit, copy. Now they are all copied. If we look at our layers panel, it would probably be a good idea to create another layer just for the background there. Now it's in its own layer, and I can lock it and I can still show it. So now I have copied all these letters. They are sitting on my clipboard. I'm going to change the colors of the letters that are there to white, white outline, white fill, and then I'm going to drag this white fill box onto the outline, which just added a 1-point stroke, and I'm going to bring it up to a lot more. So now this looks really thick, and you see this little jutting off pointy situation there. That's being created by the stroke palette, since there is a stroke on these letters, and there's a setting on here that you should know about, which is this right here. It's corners. And because right here there's a corner of an N that's kind of flailing and making this little thorn come out, I'm going to change the corner setting to rounded corners, and it goes away. So I'm going to undo that again, and I'm going to zoom up on it. I will remind you that I still have that object sitting on my clipboard waiting to be pasted. So there's rounded corners, and that goes away. And I'll zoom down on this. All right, now I'm going to do Edit, Paste in Front, and that sits exactly on the right spot, so it already looks better. Some weird little triangle up in there, though. Gonna have to deal with that. So I'm gonna do one more of these. So the text is still on the clipboard. If I select or try to select the white text by clicking on it, it's impossible to do so because the outline of the text is not clickable. To be able to select that text itself, I need to find it in my layer panel, which for some reason is not showing. There it is. Okay, so here is those letters. See how as I hold the shift key and click on these little circles, those are the letters with the white outlines. How do I know that for sure? By looking here. There's the white text with the white outlines. Okay, so now the white text with the white outlines is selected again, and the black text with no outline is still on the clipboard, right? It is. Trust me. All right. So I'm going to do Edit, Paste in Front again, and it's pasting it in front of the white text. It looks exactly the same. I'm going to change it. I'm going to change the fill to, let's say, this yellow color, or maybe this orange color, and then I'm going to drag that onto the stroke. And watch, as I start to thicken up that stroke, you start seeing it come up around the letters of the word vision. So I had pasted it between the two layers. Does that make sense? It's okay if it doesn't. You're tired. It's been a long day. I have now been working 12 hours and actually up for 16. So do you see what I'm saying, though? This whole thing is got some kind of weird triangle, but this whole stacking situation is this is sitting on top of this one. This one has a 4-point stroke, and this one has a 13-point stroke. Now something weird with this typeface is making this little triangle situation happen, and I don't know what exactly that is. If I choose Object Expand for this one little letter N, that seemed to fix it. So that was nice. All right, and then if I slide these around and try to visually line them up, they'll line up exactly. So you're stacking your text. You're creating the text as you want it and copying that. Now that's on the clipboard. the type that's here already, I'll change the outline to black because it had no outline, and I'll make it really thick, and then I'll use a curved corner. And then if I do edit, paste in front, I have black text again, but now I have red text. Now my red text has a red stroke using a curved corner of 3 points. Now again, I'm going to go edit, paste in front again. Now I have black text. I'm going to change this black text to white. So you're stacking them. The outlines are getting thicker and thicker as it reaches down into, it's just doing, there it goes, right? So there's how they're stacking. All right, so that is a movie you may want to watch again. I'm going to stop recording.